All right, it's 6 o'clock, so we'll get started here. We have a quorum with full attendance, so we'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Corderi, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes, sir.
We have a student to do it, I believe.
We do tonight?
I believe so. I just want to make sure.
I know we have them for the performance, but, okay, so C.F. Pope is going to lead us in the pledge. Okay, good. All right, thank you, and you'll have a performance for us, I see, so go ahead when you're ready. I don't have it on my...
Guys, y'all can come on stage. Bob. Why she got you this? In front of me. Just get right here. Get it right here.
Silver than heaven.
No, we can go. We have a student to reunification.
Oh, okay.
Loving and gracious God.
She got it. Do y'all want to come up on the? Do y'all want to come up on the stage?
Why don't you tell everybody?
So we have with us from CF Pope Elementary, this is Tiana and Clarshawn, and they are going to be leading our invocation.
Loving and gracious God, we ask you to keep all students and families and staff of our school district safe in your arms. May you guide the board to make decisions that move or distract forward. May you help our community members grow in light and love to be the best that they can be. We ask your guidance and presence in the day-to-day life in our school and pray that you keep us safe. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, thank you to the students from CF Pope. Moving along here, we need to adopt our agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda, to approve the agenda as presented?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as stated.
All right, Mr. Springer has made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Burns has seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, unanimous. All right, item 5 is recognitions. And Bob, this is you. Thank you.
Yeah, so we have 3 different sets of recognitions tonight. So first I want to call upon Dr. Sonia Oates, the principal at Cape Fear Elementary, and Ms. Brittany Coleman.
I'm being recognized because I wrote a grant through 4 County Pride Activist Grant to get some yoga players for my 3rd graders to help with their comprehension and fluency.
Thank you.
So next, we have, this is kind of a special recognition from outside of the school system. We have Pender County's Fire Marshal is here, Ms. Amy Burton, if she would like to come up. She asked to recognize a Topsail High School student, Jillian Lombardo. So Jillian, if you're here. And teacher Burke Bailey, so Mr. Bailey, come on up as well.
Good evening, members of the board, Jillian and Mr. Burke. Tonight, I just wanted to share quickly about a call that I had encountered last month and about really how much it moved me and the partnerships that are going on in this county. Approximately 80% of all fire incidents, a portable fire extinguisher is the only thing that's available to fight the fire at that time. When the fire is extinguished in the early stages, loss of life and loss of property is minimal. According to statistics by the National Fire Protection Association, there are, on average, approximately 170,000 vehicle fires each year. Tonight, I'm thankful for the opportunity to honor 2 individuals that made a difference. On December 15, 2023, a call was placed to Pender County 911 about a vehicle fire. An engine company from Pender EMS and Fire arrived on scene to find the fire already extinguished. Due to the nature of the call, the fire marshal's office was requested. It was during this time I learned that the fire was extinguished by a family member on scene. Thanks to partnerships formed and fostered by Pender County Schools and their neighboring public safety agencies, a young lady, which is Jill, learned important skills that mitigated a hazard that could have proven a great loss to life or property. What happened was Jillian's brother's car caught on fire as he was driving home, and he drove home and pulled in his cul-de-sac and went inside, and his sister, his baby sister, younger sister, ran outside to save the day and extinguished a vehicle fire. This was a classic vehicle. To me, it's not classic because I was a teenager when this was around. So, but to them, it's a classic vehicle. But she minimized the damage, and she was so excited on scene. She told me about Mr. Bailey and about how they had taken a field trip to Pender EMS and Fire Station number 18 and learned how to use fire extinguishers. If it hadn't been for the partnerships of these programs, we might have been fighting a whole fire in a whole neighborhood over there in Hampstead. So I just wanted to say thank you, Jillian, for using this training and being quick on your feet. And thank you, Mr. Bailey, for stepping up and agreeing to teach this class and fostering these skills for our young up and coming.
And then, so our last recognition, if everyone is not aware, January is School Board Member Appreciation Month. So in honor of that, we have a few local artists who I'd like to have come up. So if Yarnette Leon Quiros is here. Isabella Richards. McKinley Gray. Zaylee Hotman. Guess we've got three of you. So let me give you, I'm going to let you grab your picture because you'll know which picture you have. I'm taking the names off. That's it. So I'm going to have y'all come over here. We're going to stand in order. So Isabella, I want you first. Then McKinley, Zaylee. Okay. So now I need board members to come out. So the student representing District 1 is not here, but this would be one. So then we go 2, 3, 4, 5. So come meet your student from your district. And those students are going to give you their artwork. I know that would be from your student, and that would be from your student. But their art teachers thought that their work stood out, and we just thought this would be a good way to recognize our board members and thank them for what they do. So ladies, you're welcome to present your artwork to the board member behind you. All right, everyone get together for a picture. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank y'all. Board members are not done. So, we also have artwork from elementary students at Cape Fear Elementary. The media coordinator there, one Melissa Taylor, has had her students make y'all individual cards. So these are from Cape Fear Elementary students. Thanking you again for your service during School Board Appreciation Month. There you go. Just think you can get a picture. I'll get this
Yeah.
to Ms. Taylor.
Absolutely.
What do you want? Awesome. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Doesn't matter to me, either way. He's going to read the pre.
All right, we've got public comments. I've got a statement that I need to read first. The Pender County Board of Education welcomes the opportunity to hear from the public during its regularly scheduled meetings. The public comment period is open for members of the public, including parents and students, to voice compliments, concerns, or complaints about the performance of school personnel, implementation of board policy, the quality of the education program, or school facilities. According to Policy 2310, presentations are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Obscene, vulgar, or profane statements and statements reasonably perceived to be disruptive or imminently threatening to the orderly operation of the meeting shall not be permitted. Mr. McPherson will call the names and will also keep the time. There's a bit of a warning that lets you know how much time you have left, and it is usually displayed on the screen here. So, Mr. McPherson.
First speaker is Michael Beck. And Mr. Beck, just for orientation, the timer's right there.
Good evening, board members. I watched and listened to the December 19th board meeting in regard to the EC program. One could conclude it was at the request of the board to get some clarification. I thank the board for that. It was announced in the presentation the state has changed the name from EC Pre-K to EC-EC. I contacted the State Office of Exceptional Children when I was able to speak to a regional coordinator. I asked if the state was making changes to the EC program, in particular the change from EC Pre-K to EC-EC. I was told no. Though EC Pre-K is services, it is still being titled EC Pre-K. This is why there is frustration. Information is inaccurate, not being shared, or made up along the way. Dr. Sawyer stated over the next couple months at CPAC she would be listening to parents and get their input on how to improve the program. We have been offering suggestions and questions since the first CPAC meeting. Board members saw the frustration from parents firsthand while attending a CPAC meeting, which, by the way, still hasn't been posted for the January meeting. I am optimistic moving forward. Maybe some things will change and improve for the next year. The question to ask yourself, which is why I have been coming here and was thinking someone on the board would have asked during the December 19th meeting, is this. For at least the last several years, there haven't been changes to the EC program. I would speculate not as many complaints either. Then why make the changes? Some of you are up for re-election, while others are seeking election to other positions. I wish you luck. I am aware there are shortages and understaffing issues all around. Remember this when deciding budgets. According to the CDC, in the year 2000, 1 in 150 people were diagnosed with autism. In the year 2020, it's 1 in 36. Call it EC Pre-K, EC, or services. Call it whatever you want, but it's time to start listening. Every study shows the more services and socialization provided at the earliest age, the more positive the results. Remember when you perform your elected duties, a quote by Everett Hale. I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do something that I can do. I only get 3 minutes at a time, but that quote served me well in my life and my career. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Mariel Chavez. Mariel Chavez. Okay. If Ms. Chavez is here, we'll move on to Henry Temple.
Try to keep this short. I don't have it as organized as the last guy. I'm a father of a middle school student. It was brought to my attention that there was an issue with some inappropriate material as far as books in the middle school libraries that not sure, I haven't been in a meeting in a couple of years, but it was voted on that this book or several books, I'm not sure, I had a nice conversation with Ken and he assured me that they'd been removed, and I went to the school today. Of course, they're having the testing, so I wasn't allowed to go to the library, but I had principal here look into it. That book is still available at Topsail Middle School. And Mr. I apologize, Cordero pointed out some of the material that was in the book. And I just, I don't want people to think I'm the type of person that wants to ban books or anything, but I do think that as parents, it's appropriate that we control the material that's at the middle schools and that we focus it on the core things like math, science, and not have things that are hot topics available for the kids to check out. Now, they did say that I had to sign a permission slip, but that book, Mr. Smith, is still there. So I don't know what the next step in that is, but I want to make sure that the public knows that that's the case and that it's been brought before the board. That's all I got to say. I'm trusting it'll be looked into.
Thank you. All right. That's all correct.
Mr. Chair, I believe there's one call in.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
My message is to bring to the board's attention a deeply concerning incident that occurred today, January 11th, involving my 5-year-old son, TJ, at Topsail Annandale Elementary School. During the recess period, it came to my attention that a new gate had been installed in the playground area. Shockingly, the area surrounding the gate was not adequately monitored, resulting in my son walking through the gate, leaving the school campus. Fortunately, a Good Samaritan intervened, ensuring his safe return. However, the gravity of the situation has left me deeply shaken and anxious about the safety measures at place at the school. I am reaching out to request a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding this incident. It is crucial for us to understand where the teachers responsible for the supervision of the playground were during this time and how much oversight allowed my son to leave the campus without anyone noticing until a kind stranger intervened. As a parent, I entrust the safety of my child to the school, expecting that he will be secure while in your care. The fact that he could walk out so easily raises serious concerns about the effectiveness of current safety protocols, particularly in the designated recess area. I implore you to take immediate action to ensure the safety of all students at Topsail Annandale Elementary School. This incident highlights the urgent need for a comprehensive review of the security measures in place, with a focus on the supervision and monitoring of the playground areas. I kindly request that a formal investigation be initiated promptly and that the findings and subsequent actions taken be communicated to the concerned parents at the earliest convenience. The well-being of our children is utmost importance, and I trust that you share our commitment to ensuring a secure and nurturing environment for all students. Thank you for your attention in this matter, and I look forward to hearing from you.
All right. That's everyone correct. Okay. Item 7 is our information agenda, starting with the calendar committee update. Mr. Taylor.
Board, thank you. You have in front of you in your packet and also a set of handouts. I'll draw your attention to, first off, the timeline that's in your board packets. Essentially, what we have done to this point is calendars have been developed. Principals and their teams have vetted those calendars and sent back feedback. And the other, every sit team, every team at the school involving some parents have narrowed the list down to the to the two that are in each packet for 24, 25, and 25, 26. You'll also find in the back of the packet a section for Pender Lee. I did want to go through kind of the cover of your packet, your handout. If you look through the data, the first and second place vote getters of the calendars were draft 4 and draft 5. Respectively, for 24, 25, those two calendars have 169 instructional days and 167 instructional days. We'll draw your attention also to the fact that these are the two shortest calendars in terms of options that were selected. Same thing for 25, 26. Draft 4 and draft 5 respectively have 169 instructional days respectively. Again, these are the shortest calendars that were sent out for decision. You do have in your calendar an early start, in your packet, I should say, an early start calendar as well for each one of those years. Also, this was sent to you guys in an email, so you have this digitally. There are a couple of links in there. We did do some research with New Hanover County, Onslow County, and Brunswick. New Hanover and Onslow test after Christmas, or after the holiday break, I should say. And Brunswick still tests like we have done traditionally in the past few years before the holiday break. So they have an unbalanced calendar. I will say that options 4 and 5 both have December testing, so they are unbalanced. You can see the unbalanced nature. Draft 4 for 24, 25 has 79 semester 1 days and 90 semester 2 days. And you can see that on your sheet without me reading it all to you. The Pender Lee calendar, there's one thing to draw your attention to there. They still operate off a year-round calendar. Traditionally, the spring breaks have matched up, but due to calendar law for these and the way the calendar is falling this year, those two spring breaks will not match. So that's something to consider as well. Happy to take any questions that you may have regarding this or anything else that you'd like to.
Is early graduation ever, I can't recall at this time if it's publicized at this point when we're doing calendars?
I believe, Fallon, you still here? Or early?
We always wait until the calendar is approved,
Yeah.
but we can always add it on.
Right. Yeah, did you hear that, Mr. Smith?
At this point, has there been any parental engagement over the calendars? Is it just staff and I understand it might be a little bit early, so I was just wondering if you have any plans for that as far as like the school improvement teams and other of these parent groups to get their feedback?
Once the board gives us direction as to which calendars to include, we will send this out for parents to be able to select or have input on the calendars that we have. Currently, we have 2 for 22, 25, 2 for 25, 26, and the 3 calendars for Pender Lee. If you want to add a calendar into that, now's the time to tell us, because we're going to send this out hopefully tomorrow.
How about polling days? For the schools that have to be closed or?
They're taken care of in the calendar.
Okay.
Yes, sir. In both sets.
Okay.
All right. So you are looking for direction to go ahead and send these out? And
Yes.
get some answers?
Yes. And which specific ones do you want us to send out? Obviously, the staff has decided on options 4 and 5 respectively in the 24, 25, and 25, 26. There are other options available if you want us to add another option to.
Does the superintendent have anything to share with us?
Absolutely. I appreciate having the opportunity to do that. And I will continue to say what I've said since being hired. We need more time in school. Anything above 170 days I see as beneficial to our school system the closer that we can get to 180 days is always best, especially when we look at our teachers. Our teachers are very skilled in what they do. And my job as a superintendent is to find the best and most amount of time that we can put our students in front of our teachers and that they can share that skill set with them at instructing our students. Our students, upon graduation, have to compete with society on jobs, enrollment into colleges, and enlistment. And the more time that we have with them in our schools, it's the better for all students. I'm a firm believer in our school system. I will continue to say that we need more time with our students. And selecting a calendar that has the least amount of time with students is just, in my opinion, is not the best interest of Pender County Schools.
Did I understand that the staff's recommendation is for the options 4 and 5? Is that right?
Sir.
Those calendars have the fewest days.
No, sir.
am I missing?
Well, his response for staff, we put this out to schools. And the responses for 4 and 5 are from teachers, or sit teams and teachers, correct? Across the board. But my recommendation is not 4 and 5. My recommendation would be, following calendar law, it would be draft number 2 with January testing for high schools as an example of 24, 25.
And the sit teams recommended 4 and 5. Is that, sorry, I think I misunderstood you. Staff's recommendation is not 4 and 5. That's what the sit teams recommended. Is that right? Okay. But staff's recommendation is 2.
Yes, sir, for the 24, 25 school year. That is my recommendation.
Did the sit teams have any constructive feedback on 4 versus 5? Were they kind of split on that, or
We
can you
do
give us
have,
any
but
feedback?
that's not shared in your packet. We do have some input from them that is
I mean,
not
you can just share it
anecdotal.
if you.
Yeah. High schools typically like the December testing because it marries up, matches up with the Cape Fear Community College calendar, so that they finish up a semester. That's really the strongest feeling of that. The most frequent comment we've received has been that one.
And I continue to remind everyone that we did not create the calendar law. That is created for us, and we have the state of North Carolina tells school system if they want a balanced schedule that you have to test out in January rather than prior to. And as a parent, I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's the rules and that's the laws that are put in place. So that's the framework that we have to work within.
Mr. Taylor, does draft 2 meet up with the schedule for the college?
Draft 2 does not, has January testing.
So which draft meets up with the college schedule?
Draft 4 and draft 5.
Can that be put in on the survey or whatever y'all plan to do to market to the parents?
Those are the 2 that were selected by the sit teams.
Okay.
The 2 that were selected by sit teams have December testing
Okay.
for both years.
But they fall outside of the state then, correct?
No, they don't.
They just have the fewest
That's why
amount of
their
days.
semesters are unbalanced.
You have a short first semester and a longer second semester.
Dr. Breedlove, I'm assuming that you would prefer 4 over 5 because it has at least 2 additional days, right? Or not?
Draft.
Draft 4
yes.
versus draft 5, because you got a couple more.
Whatever we could do to get more days,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
yes, sir. That's a good way to look at it. Whatever offers the most days is the compromise, I guess.
Well, not only that, but draft 4, you're also looking at an additional 11 days on the second semester as opposed 79 days on the first semester and 90 days on the second semester. 11 days is a pretty big gap.
Yeah. So draft 4 has the most amount of days per the calendar as a whole, but the biggest gap as well.
Draft 3 still complies with the state law, right?
The only one that does not comply with state law is draft 6. And that was the one that was least selected by the
And draft 3, because it has January testing, would not align with the college schedule. Is that right?
draft 3 and draft 2 do not align with community college for high schools.
Our students that are taking those college classes would still test in December for those college classes, but any high school classes would test in January.
Correct.
Is that why you were asking about the college schedule? Is there something that we're missing as far as this college schedule, Mr. Springer? Is there any other thing we should be thinking about?
So I not that I can think of, Ms. Cordero, but what I would ask you, Dr. Breedlove, is with 11 extra days, how significant do you see a testing change in students in 1 year? I know it's hard to predict sitting here, but.
Correct, but just, anecdotally, having more time with a teacher or instructor is extremely valuable, and not just testing, but just general knowledge in a subject matter as a whole, whether that's third grade reading or math or middle school, just having that additional time. And we do this year after year after year, and you follow a student from kindergarten through 12th grade, and you start adding up the amount of hours that student had versus a student that had a more traditional calendar that gave more days. That's significant over the lifespan or the educational lifespan of that student in compulsory education.
Okay, so historically speaking, in your time as senior administration, would it be would you say a 10% increase on average, or would you say it'd be a 1%, or give me some type of numerical average that you've seen?
In my opinion, I look at it this way. Let's take athletics or music or anything that a student performs in. The more time that they do something, the better they become at it. So whether that's reading with a highly qualified, skilled teacher who is trained in the teaching of reading to that student, they have more time with that individual, they will perform better than the student that is not with that individual.
All right.
Mr. Taylor, refresh my memory. When did we go to the December testing? What year was that? Is that
Don't quote me
21?
on this, but I think it was 4 years ago. Yeah, so it might have been, I don't want to give you an answer because I really can't remember. I won't go with 16 from the lady in the back row.
No, I was just wondering if we had any data as far as, like our end of semester testing, as far as, was it better when we tested in December as opposed to testing in January?
We do.
But I know COVID probably put a kink in that
It
too.
did, and our high school principals are very savvy. Sometimes when they know their semesters are shorter, they try to backload those EOCs and the high stakes testing in the spring. So it doesn't always work out for that to happen. They may have class sizes that are too big to do that, for example, and they may have to put some in December or the first semester.
Right.
But we play the game and by the cards we're dealt. So
When does this have to be turned in? Or
we need to
rectified?
get parental input so that, and this, we're not behind.
Okay.
But families are starting to plan vacations.
Yep.
And we want to try to get a 2-year calendar out there so they can make those plans before their Disney points run out.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to include drafts 4 and drafts 2 because those have the most instructional time consistent with the superintendent's recommendation. So that way, at least parents have an option to weigh in on, a January testing and a December testing. But of course, I'm open if anybody else has any feedback on that.
This is an information item. Can we
Oh, I'm
vote
sorry.
on it?
Yeah, but that was my
I
next
thought you were
question.
asking us for a decision. I misunderstood.
We don't, Brandon, can we do this without
You're shaking your head,
official
but you're
vote?
not saying anything.
So you can do it without, I think what Mr. Taylor is asking is for a consensus from.
Oh,
the board.
okay.
Okay.
Now,
With
you
some
can do
direction.
that. by
So I won't make a motion, but I'll make a recommendation that
Yeah,
that we do
there you go.
2 and 4. Sorry for my
Well,
ineloquent
you could
language.
you could certainly do a motion. but Give him the direction he needs to take.
You got what you need, right?
Yes, it's information, so, right, it's no action, but we need some direction from the board.
Is that everybody's consensus?
What drafts are you talking about?
It's number 4 and number 2. So basically, we're taking the December testing date that has the most instructional days, and then the January testing date that has the most instructional days. Again, that was 4 and 2.
That's
Draft
before-
4 and, sorry, because what we're looking at, we've got various numbers that are not matched. So
Draft 4
number
and
1
draft
being draft 4, and number 5 being draft 2 on the sheet that we've got in front of us, is
Those
what I
were
was
the
talking
two
about,
I
Mr.
was looking
Springer.
at also.
We got 4 and 5 in front of us, right? For 25, 20, are you talking about for 24, 25, Kevin? or-
I'm looking,
Yes, sir.
Because I think in doing that gives us the best option for December testing and January testing. I agree with that.
So we also would like the board's direction on 25, 26 as well. Just to run through real quickly. Drafts 4 and 5 have the same number of 169. Both semesters end in December with December testing. Draft 1 has 171. Draft 3 has 176. Draft 2 has 174.
and we're basically talking about the same thing, right?
We
It's just
are.
the following year.
So, but so which two do you want us to include in the voting with the parents, with the general public?
My opinion's not changed. I would give the same 2, but that's just one person.
So
4 and
go with
2.
Draft 5, number
Wait.
2.
I guess it would be 3, because 3 has the most days. Yes, you're right.
Right. So draft 3 and draft 2 or 1. They both have equal days. The semesters are not as unbalanced in number 2.
I would just defer to the recommendation of the superintendent. I think that y'all have put enough time into this that y'all would know better than anyone else on this.
You get 2 days that are closer together on number 2 there, so my recommendation is the one that has the more balanced of the 2, rather than, so draft number 5 on that one
Right.
would be my recommendation.
And then draft number 3 as well for January testing, right? Okay.
I'll concur with that.
Same.
Perfect. I think I have the next one too.
Looks like you have the next item too.
Yes, sir. We wanted to give you just an update for information purposes regarding the tutoring programs that we have in place. So just for general public knowledge and just to also to bring it back to the board's attention, this serves as just an update, like I said, to the general public on tutoring programs that are either currently available or will be available really soon. All the tutoring programs are primarily funded through ESSERS. The 2 main options that we have, one is in-person tutoring, and one is by tutor.com. And tutor.com is a partnership between Pender County Schools and the Department of Defense. The option is only available to our heavily military-connected schools. So that is primarily the Hampstead and Surf City side. And the in-person options are primarily being utilized on the western side of the county. Tutors are either paid tutors, that is their primary function in the school system, or they are teachers taking on additional tutoring responsibilities after their normal work hours. So happy to answer any questions that you have regarding the 2 programs.
I have a question. When I saw this on here, this is tutoring.com. This is something, though, that was being done during COVID, the tutoring program, and is that correct?
We didn't use tutor.com.
That we used we were doing tutoring then.
Tutoring then,
So tutoring.com, when did it get implemented?
Early this year is when we began the process.
Who began the process exactly?
That would have been myself and Leanne Radabaugh.
Okay. Has something already been put out, a statement from Pender County Schools about this?
I believe Bob sent something out just recently, is that correct?
Something was sent out initially, a full release countywide. Has that not been sent out?
Yeah, that will be sent out tomorrow.
Okay.
We were waiting to get through the board meeting. The reason that we did not push that out is because training at all the schools had not been completed, and pushing something out that it's going to be at the schools in the Hampstead and Surf City areas too soon. There's an expectation, right, when you push something out that it comes with it. So we needed to get through that training, and I want everybody to know that that training, we have one school remaining, but we feel confident in pushing out information on tutor.com at this point, knowing that it is up and running. It will be up and running at all schools within a week.
I guess the question I have then, because I had several parents call about this, and I told them to call central office because there was something like, I guess, a statement put out, and some teachers that have called that didn't know that this was being done. So that does concern me, that if our central office is putting out information that our staff did not have full knowledge of, that we're implementing something. And so whoever's rolling that information out, to me, it was inappropriate if it's not Pender County School ready to announce if our people have not been trained. It's kind of the old saying, putting the cart before the horse, in my opinion.
Yes, sir.
That meeting y'all had, where was it at?
It was at Topsail High School.
Can you give us some more context for that?
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit more about the program. It's a partnership with the military, right? But,
I guess my question is that I'm hearing that 2 board members initiated this, which I know that our system had already initiated it before the board members had done that.
Yeah,
So I was the chair during this time, and I thought it was appropriate for 2 former military, Mr. Springer and Mr. Cordero, since they had been military, since all the groundwork had been laid, everything had been done by central office, not by the board individually. And so that's why I guess the confusion is that who designed this, where did this come from, that kind of thing, and what role did the board play for that?
Right. So we have a major partnership with the Department of Defense.
And that's nothing new, because we've been a
Well, we're
military
Purple
school
Star.
system. Yeah.
We're Purple Star certified, so.
District, because we are a military friendly district. That develops partnerships over time. So we're able to develop partnerships with several entities. They presented that to Leanne, Ms. Radabaugh and myself. We did include Mr. Springer and Mr. Cordero because they were obviously, when we interested in this, to see this thing through. So we all met together. Soon after that, we began to go through the process of identifying how we could make this work. And part of that was we did have to fund $12,500 out of ESSERS for Topsail High School for some of their tutoring program, very specific to a specific program. The other component of that was making sure that our teachers were trained. So that slowed the process down a little bit. But we're ready to go as of this coming week to roll this thing out because everybody will be trained by then. That's our anticipation.
Okay, so I understand that we're also going to be giving tutoring to the west side of the county.
Yes.
Who is going to be performing that tutoring, and are they going to have the same kind of training that would be equivalent to what
Yes.
the tutor.com
Yes.
folks are having?
Yeah, so we've had trouble finding tutors, staff-wise, just like we sometimes have trouble finding teachers and TAs and bus drivers. So what we have done is we've asked certain teachers who are highly qualified that will stay after school outside of their normal business hours, normal work hours to tutor students. So they are just as qualified as a tutor.com program for the west side. And the reason we didn't utilize it on the west side is because it wasn't free.
Right.
You know, some of our west side schools are state designated low performing. So we want to give them what we can to help them improve as well.
Well, that was my thought too, is that it would be very nice if we could also get
The-
tutoring,
the other
especially for the west
And
side.
the other component of that is if we do hire a tutor, they go through not only an interview process, but also they prove to us through taking a battery of tests that they know the material they're supposed to be tutoring.
Indeed.
So
How long has the partnership been going on with the military? I mean, it's been going on for years. I know,
Yeah.
but do you have a particular time? I mean, I know it's longer than
I would say
5 years. Yeah.
thereabouts. We began the,
So a military partnership's not something new, is what I'm asking.
that's not new, no, sir.
I mean, I know that, but I just
Yeah.
want to make sure I'm clear about it.
We weren't aware of the tutor.com before that meeting that you mentioned though, right?
We knew about it because we had heard about it, so we invited you to come along
Why hadn't we taken advantage of it? Yeah,
because we had just heard about it.
just heard about it. Okay, so it was a new thing.
It was new, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But y'all had done the groundwork on this already.
Right.
That's why we hadn't already heard about it.
Yeah, we had
Because y'all had done,
these
yeah.
preliminary discussions about, and honestly, when we first heard about it, we thought this is too good to be true. Like, they're going to give us the service for free. Well, nothing's ever free. And it really wasn't free at the end, to be honest with you. But it was definitely a good partnership. So we had the opportunity to sit down with them at Topsail High, and there were meetings after that we had to have too. But we knew a little bit about it. We invited them to come along, and that's how it all transpired.
Well, outstanding and good job.
Thank you. A lot of credit goes to Ms. Radabaugh. She's the one.
Is she here tonight?
She's not. Okay. She is away out of the county. Still in the state, though. Any further questions regarding this? Thank you.
All right, thank you. And item 7.3, information request about electric bus placement.
Yes, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. The last request discussed during the committee of the whole were the individual routes of the buses at Pender Lee School, which we discussed. And then there was an additional request for testing data specifically from Thomas Built buses. That was provided in your board packet. As you can see, there's testing for temperatures between 20 and 40, and then 41 and 80, I think it was. If you go to the last page, you'll see a summary. There was a question about the amount of energy loss during colder temperatures. Many of you, I'm sure, have seen the recent newscast that showed some similar information. But as you can see, the estimated range for 41 to 80 degree temperatures is 135 miles. The approximate mileage loss is about 20%, which is 34 miles, with still maintaining a range in the 20 to 40 degrees for 101 miles.
Was that testing done with the buses full of children?
That testing was done by Thomas Built Bus using a 60-mile route and traditional routing expectations. Yes, sir.
No, but was the bus carrying a load? Like, were there children or I don't know, they would use dummies, or I don't know how they would test it. I'm just curious as to whether or not the bus was at loaded capacity when the testing was done, or if it was empty.
I can't answer that question, sir.
Okay.
I didn't ask that question. I asked them for the testing.
Well, how about this question for you then? Diesel buses, are they tested with loaded children in them?
I don't know that they would be tested
I've never
by
heard of
Thomas
such.
Built
I
buses,
just-
no,
yeah.
sir,
Okay.
at the factory.
Diesel bus also goes 512 miles on a tank.
But also, this is not, as you've made it clear in your presentation to objection, Mr. Cordero, every time, it's not a political issue. So And you were saying, Mr. Daris pointed out recently that we could have gotten other types of buses, biodiesel and that, is that?
That is correct. There were other options, but the previous administration chose to request the electric buses.
Right.
Yes,
And that's what, we're not changing out a whole fleet, we're just doing 3 buses, so.
that's correct.
And then those 3 buses also, the winter temperature is not gonna have an effect at leaving kids broke down on the side of the road, because just like any vehicle could have maintenance issues, I imagine, so.
Yes, sir.
Even in the cold, what is the charge based on what I was reading? It was pretty high, isn't it?
Yeah, based on the testing data, the testing data that was provided by Thomasville buses, we're still well within our operational ranges that we need. And additionally, I think there were some concerns regarding charging stations, especially, as I said, on recent newscasts and things of that nature. The same could be said about the 1970s gas lines operating off of odd and even tags. There were lots of people running out of gas. For those of you who are old enough to remember that, I was a very small child, but I have some very, very ingrained memories from my grandparents talking. But the reality is, a lot of the data that we're seeing out there in the newscast, those chargers are not dedicated. People had to go to, like Lowe's Foods, for example, in Murrayville has 8 or 10 charging stations. These charging stations will be at our school specifically for our buses, and their connections are not adaptable to other electric vehicles.
And forgive me for my memory, is there a reason why we're only testing these buses on the west end of the county?
It was about the mileage, sir.
What do you mean, what about the mileage?
The Penderley routes are constrained to just the Penderley school.
So we were concerned about the range, so we wanted to pick the shortest routes because we were concerned about the range, is that right?
Well, we picked them because we felt like it was the most adaptable to our area.
Why were they adaptable?
Because those routes are only serving Penderley.
Okay.
But it won't, because you're scared. I mean, when you say the word concern, it makes it sound like that y'all are sitting in the corner afraid that, y'all gonna roll out these buses. Was there ever a time that you're afraid to implement 3 electric buses?
There are other locations that could be utilized, but we know that those buses are dedicated to Penderley, and we don't have a worry about them being impacted.
Where do these, to remind the public, because I think there's been some misunderstanding with a lot of stuff. The buses are coming from what lawsuit again?
I think it was Mercedes. Volkswagen. Oh, okay, can't remember. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I mean,
I knew it was one of those German cars. But they invalidated. They utilized invalid data to get EPA.
And Duke hasn't gotten back to us on whether or not they're willing to put the agreement to let us use the charging stations after 2025 for $1 a year. The email that we got, they're not willing to put that in the contract.
No, sir. Right? There are 28 school districts in the county. In the state that are migrating to the utilization of electric buses at some case in point, and their response was they've not been asked by any of the other districts to do that.
Well, and if it does come to the fact that, because I know it was brought up during the votes about Duke pulling a switcheroo on us.
Yes, sir.
If that happens, we're not stuck. We can come back in with our buses. We're not stuck with these charging stations, are we?
Not to my knowledge, no, sir.
Okay, that's what I recalled you saying.
Well, but we're stuck with the electric buses. We can't return the electric buses, right? Or can we return those?
I don't think you can return the electric buses.
I guarantee you the other districts would want them, though. Just like they got snatched up, because how many originally were we offered?
5, sir.
5.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and they got snatched up the next day, I think.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Does DPI publish which districts have signed up? Do you know?
I don't know if they publish it. I have the map that I received this weekend that I can send to y'all, and that way you can see the specific counties. And you can see it's all across the state, the mountain counties as well as the coastal counties and the Piedmont area as well.
Okay, thanks.
I guess one last question I have, at any time, have you had any kind of communication with Governor Cooper's office instructing you to push electric buses?
Oh, no, sir.
Anything else?
So-
Anyone?
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. All right, on the consent agenda, I think there's a couple of items here that there's some questions about. So before we vote on it, I guess, let me go down the list, and if anyone has a question about any of the items, just stop me, and we'll see if we can answer it. How about that?
That's fine, Mr. Chair.
All right, board minutes. Okay. Our budget and budget resolution. Okay. Bleacher purchase for Cape Fear Middle School.
Yes.
All right.
Fact, 8.3 to 8.5.
Okay, so that'll be the bleacher purchase for Cape Fear Middle, concrete installation for Cape Fear Middle Athletic Complex, and parking lot construction for Cape Fear Middle School. For their athletic complex. I'm sorry, let me clarify that. So,
And also, Mr. Chair, skipping over 8.6 and going to 8.7. That's it.
okay, so the retaining wall at Surf City Middle. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions on any of the other items? We've got a plaque installation for Topsail High School for Jan Lewis, request for support of installation of historical marker, chiller repair at Cape Fear, Blazer Works contract for EC, healthcare contract for EC, Head Start reporting, and Book Nook tutoring service for migrant students. Okay, so we've got questions on 8.7, 8.4, 8.5, and 8.6, and then after the questions are resolved, we'll see about voting on, consent agenda is all in one vote, so. All right, so we'll start with 8.4, concrete installation for Cape Fear Middle School. And Mr. Springer, I think that was your item.
I also have Mr. Matt Davis here, the district athletic director, who's helping, who is facilitating the project. I will ask him to come up in case he can answer specific questions that I may not be able to answer for you.
Good, thank you.
I think we just talked
Yeah, go ahead if you. Yeah, 8 point, oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong. 8.3 is what we're starting.
Yes, sir.
Yep, the bleacher purchase.
So, the bleacher purchase, how many bleachers are we purchasing for this? And can you give us a roundabout number on how much it's gonna cost?
Bleacher purchase is in the exhibit. The lowest bid that we received was from Mastercraft. It's a $50,913.35. Seating for 10 rows high, 21 feet long. I don't know what was the equation for that? I do know it has 5 wheelchair cutouts with 5 companion seats. But I don't know the total number of seats provided.
That's fine, Mr. Taylor.
And it's two sets, roughly about the same, 21 feet and 27 feet.
Okay,
There's
great.
currently none there, right?
Correct.
Do, the rest of our middle schools have, for the most part, have bleachers of some sort?
Surf City and, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, sir.
Surf City and Pender have the same setup with these. Topsail Middle obviously uses Topsail High School. West Pender does not. They don't have the land available for this. And then Burgaw Middle uses Parks and Rec. Again, sort of landlocked there.
Okay.
But the 2 fields that we have constructed recently with Penderley and Surf City have similar structures.
That's all the questions I had for that particular item.
Okay, anyone else? All right, 8.4.
Mr. Taylor, what's the reason of not putting a curb around the parking lot?
Reducing cost is one of the primary reasons.
Okay.
It's a pervious covering, so we would not be creating an impervious surface, which is generally where curb and gutter is placed.
And what was, you don't have to discuss names. I don't have the number in front of me. If you could
Yes,
tell
sir.
me what the lowest bid on that was.
The concrete work is actually for the bleacher placement, so they don't sink into the grounds and things of that nature. That's $32,834.17.
Along with some sidewalking.
And ADA accessibility from the parking area.
I did not see the ADA mats that they put in the concrete. Is that down there too? Is that included?
I'm not
Crosswalks.
sure what you're asking.
Little bead boards?
No, sir, because we're not moving it to an intersection or downsloping. It's
all right.
going to be flat surface to the seating area.
Okay, how about the fence? What's the fence require? Is it a requirement that we put a fence around it?
It's generally accepted just to sort of create a barrier between the spectators and the players as a safety measure. It is not required at the middle school level, no.
Okay. And how much was the fence?
Fencing was roughly $28,000 after tax.
Mr. Taylor, I gave Dr. Breedlove a couple of numbers. Were them numbers able to be reached out to get additional bids on the project?
Yeah, no, sir.
Okay. I'm done with 8.4.
All right. 8.5, parking lot, which is related to all the
Correct.
projects are related, correct?
Yes, sir.
Before you do 8.5, I'd just 8.4, if you're doing the concrete, is there any way to find out? Because I know if you're doing several jobs, sometimes it'll be cheaper, but if you're going back and getting prices, I'd like to see a handicap entrance possibly looked at for West Pender Middle School for the gym, because there's not a handicap entrance. They have to go through the school to get to the gym. So if there was something, if we can look at that, I know that's not inexpensive as a whole area, but if we're looking at concrete, I would appreciate
Yes,
that.
sir. Absolutely.
Sorry.
I want to rescind 8.7, Mr. Chair. So what I'm sitting here trying to figure out, Mike, is, or Mr. Taylor, I'm sorry.
Don't hurt my feelings.
I'm at $110,000. About how much would it cost to get some of the sewer fixed in phases at Topsail, Annandale, or whatever's wrong with the lift station over there on the east side? I understand there's quite a few people that go over there on a weekly, daily, monthly, I don't know, basis to try to, and I think we discussed this, but I haven't heard anything back on it.
I do not know the exact cost. We have been in contact with Norris and Tunstall. They did
Okay.
the original civil engineering. For whatever reason, I mean, that school's 13 years old now, 14 years old, right? So for whatever reason, the as-builts were not indicative of what should have been built.
Okay.
We have been in conversation with them, though, and they are currently helping us design a catch basin and clean out because of the high school, inappropriate high school items that are being flushed. That
Okay.
our pumps do have difficulty grinding and things of that nature. Those of you who know what's out there on the street, I mean, it's just, the vapes are much bigger and things of that nature that are causing us problems. But,
Yep.
Kids also find ways to flush things such as whole apples. I'm confused how a whole apple can get through there, and I think there was even a half of a pineapple that we pulled from there. But kids find unique ways to flush things down toilets that
Very
cause
innovative.
those problems.
Yeah, but I'm not, I don't know of a politically correct way to tell you, Mr. Taylor, but I don't want us putting lipstick on a pig when we got priority problems such as plumbing, that we're spending more time sending our employees over there to fix maintenance issues when this could be rectified sooner, or should be rectified in phases, in my opinion, depending on the cost.
Yes, sir.
That's where I'm at with it. I don't know how the other board members feel about it, but I'm not, I would just as soon suspend some of these transactions and delegate that money to fix those items that need to be rectified before we end up in a situation where the water's got to be cut off. That's what I fear. I don't have anything else.
Anyone?
So are you saying that we're not constructing any of the athletic facilities at Cape Fear? I just need to be clear because I'm not really sure where we are right now.
The board hasn't said any of that, just one member's expressed it, so.
Well,
we-
do you have a response
trying
to Mr. Springer?
To do what? I will
Well,
move
he
toward
expressed his concern.
correcting, as I said, we already have Norris and Tunstall designing the catch basin that we're going to put in place. I'm not sure, I mean, we have things that fail routinely, just like automobiles, whatever the case may be. Things that get used fail. We repair and replace those things.
Okay, so where are they at in that process? How long ago have they been doing this design?
Mr. Nelson's been working with them for the last several weeks.
So it
Right
just-
before Christmas, we
Okay,
started working
it just
on
got
that.
submitted then, okay. Would you say that it's gonna cost more than or less than $110,000?
I'd say it probably costs less than. I'm thinking around 70 is what our current projections are. To
So
construct
we-
a new catch basin prior to it entering the lift station that then pumps to the Plurus system.
Yep, okay. Which one of these between 8.3 and, do you have a agenda with you?
I do.
Okay. 8.3 to 8.5, which one would you say would be the highest priority?
All of these are inclusive in the same project, sir. I don't place a priority on any of them. If you construct a facility and you don't have the handicap, you don't have the concrete accessibility, now we're potentially in violation of ADA. If you construct the handicap accessibility and not having a field or bleachers to sit on, we've not really accomplished anything. You construct an athletic field facility in an area that doesn't have parking, now we're gonna have people getting stuck every time it rains in Rocky Point, and those of you who live in Rocky Point know how often it does rain. So I think all three have the same priority. And this school is over 20 years old and does not have the same playing surfaces available to their student athletes that other schools that have been recently built do.
And I have to admit, I was listening to, I mean, we had talked about this, and I understand that it might look, you know, to me, it's not frivolous to be able to go out and give Cape Fear Middle their, you know, their athletic facilities. But I was also concerned about the sewer at Topsail too. So, but from what you've just said, you guys are on top of the sewer situation over at Topsail High. For me personally, right now, I have no problem approving what's on the consent agenda because I know that you're on it. You're already looking into it, and you're already talking to what a civil engineering firm is.
Norris and Thompson.
Exactly, to get this situation handled. So you're already planning for it, so I have no problem.
Yeah, and I would have said at the beginning
Giving
of this
Cape
school
Fear what they
year,
need.
because of my concerns regarding the Topsail High, Topsail Annandale situation, we did install another secondary pump to prevent the situation from happening that happened 2 years ago.
Right.
Okay.
But I do applaud, you know, Mr. Springer, you did bring it up, and I
Yep.
appreciate
Yep.
that. But like I said, it sounds like the situation's pretty much getting handled right now, so,
I just don't want us to run into a fact of, well,
No,
we
sir.
get, okay.
I'm with you.
Okay.
And I promised Ms. Wilson, when I took this job, what she experienced, she would never experience again, and I intend to make sure that never does happen.
It has improved greatly.
very
They're
good.
very responsive if they need to be, but whatever happened this year helped improve it greatly.
Are we having the same type of issues at the other two high schools?
No, sir.
Mr. Taylor, also, this is not on the agenda, but it's got to do with the maintenance. Do we know where we are with this water tank installation over at West Pender?
We are still waiting on the state to give us the go-ahead to connect the services.
Okay.
The engineer is working with the state to get approval. We're ready to go as soon as the state gives us the authority to connect the new well. We're ready.
Okay.
The tank is beautiful. I hope some of y'all have come out there and look at it. The new well, the water is much better than the older well. Obviously, those of you who understand well water and know that casings do deteriorate over time, start failing, you have sediment,
I would
things of that
respectfully
nature.
request that we get back to the consent agenda, Mr. Chair.
Dr. Breedlove, if you could please provide those numbers so we can get 2 extra additional estimates.
Yes, sir.
For the next board meeting. And I would be willing to proceed with 8.3 to 5 for approval, depending on the rest of the board.
So that's a motion then?
No, that's not a motion. That's just my recommendation.
That'll be for the whole consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, Mr. Smith has made a motion. Do we
I
have
second.
a second? Ms. Burns has seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 No.
Aye. Was your,
No.
all right. My vote is aye. With
I'm
the,
sorry, I thought you were
thank you.
okay. I misunderstood you. I thought you were okay with the consent if he was
Yeah,
presenting. That's
I asked Dr. Breedlove to provide the 2 additional numbers I gave him last week to get 2 additional bids.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you said you were good with it. That's why I was.
No, I said after those additional bids come in, I would be good with it.
I'm
oh, well,
sorry.
let's back up then.
Yeah, I apologize.
Yeah, let's back up then.
I didn't
So
quite
what-
understand what you. I thought you
fine.
said that you were fine.
Mr. McPherson,
So.
please
so-
weigh in.
So what we have here is we have a motion and we've had a vote and it was 3-2. And so unless,
I can rescind it. I mean, you
Yes.
can rescind, a member can rescind his
yes, you,
vote.
you can absolutely rescind the
But
vote.
I do have a question before I do such, with the bids that we're talking about, how long is that's gonna put us behind?
Well, we've been working on this for over 2.5 months, so
Okay.
depending on the responsiveness of the contractors, I guess. But that means we will have more than superseded the purchasing guidelines that's set forth by the state of North Carolina and utilization of our funds.
All right. Well, I remain, I
Whatever the
keep.
board
my-
wants me to do.
Yeah.
We can call a special meeting, though, correct?
When our next regular meeting is
2 weeks.
2 weeks, right? Or on
But
the,
everything
Well,
has
you
to be
also,
in by
you
this-
also have a work session that's on your regularly scheduled calendar next week,
right.
Tuesday.
No votes
Actually-
for that, though.
I'm sorry?
No votes at a work session, correct?
Correct.
Traditionally, that's correct.
I mean, you said
So,
traditionally.
okay, according to the law, it's a regularly scheduled meeting,
Well, that's exactly right. So
right? So we can vote if we want to.
that's, if the board puts out notice that they're going to do so, absolutely.
So we'll be meeting a week from today.
Yes.
So, how are we going to make sure that Mr. Springer's concerns are addressed? Are we going to do it now? Are we going to do it this next meeting? Are we going to not vote on this? Are we going to revote? What are we going to do? What does
But-
everybody want to do?
Well, I think Mr. Smith said his motion stands, and the board has taken a vote, so the only question I have is whether or not the chair is going to do anything to contradict the vote that's already
Is a
been
week
taken.
gonna cause, I mean, if we vote on this next Tuesday, how big a problem is that gonna be?
I'm not sure we can have the quotes in the next 5 days, which then have to be submitted to the board packet for community access, right? I mean, every day I'm trying to make sure that.
No,
the
I
next
understand.
board
I'm
meeting's
just trying
ready
to make
go.
sure that we have the best educated, decision being made.
Do we have to send out a complete new RFP or?
No.
RFQ?
I think given the values, if you're doing it piecemeal, I think informal bidding is acceptable.
Yeah.
So no, there's no requirement for a formal RFP based on the numbers that are presented
Right.
so far.
It was deemed a construction project, so realistically, if it's not over 500,000, we don't have to do that anyway.
That's right.
And I don't know who the other two, bids, that Mr. Springer gave to Dr. Breedlove, so it's hard for me to, I don't know who they are. Already state contract. Do you know? Okay.
What is the pleasure of the board?
I just want everybody's concerns to be addressed.
Okay.
But at the same time, I broke the tie because I'm not voting against Cape Fear Middle School as long as I'm sitting here.
Well, sir, it's
So-
not like we don't have plenty of concrete projects that need to be done, excavation projects. There's a lot of things that need to be done in this county, and, we're knocking on the doors and getting things done as quickly as we can. And I'll be glad to include any vendor or contractor that any of the board members would like us to utilize. So I'm open to that. But holding up this project, which I understand, the mention was that we're having a meeting next week. We won't have the information we need next week in order to make the timely expectation. Therefore, it would be at least the next board meeting, which would be a March board meeting.
Yeah, I can't, I'm like Mr. Hall, I'm not going to vote against it then if that's the case. If next Tuesday, if more evidence is presented, then anything can be changed that's been voted on.
Well, I'm just not totally clear on what we've done. That's my problem. So,
My understanding, Mr. Chair, we've approved it, but if there's something that's brought up next Tuesday, I mean, then we can look at it then, but.
that's fine, but I'm going to say it as I've said it before. The next time that we have a consent agenda with this many items on it, I'm going to recess the meeting for a month and it'll be over with. Every single time this happens, it causes a problem. So I want everybody to hear, don't do it this way again. I don't care if every single item is one at a time. If it takes 15 votes, it'll just take 15 votes. As long as I'm the chair, that's how it's going to be from now on. So, all right, thank you very much.
Sir, thank you.
Nine point one.
Good evening, Board. So we completed an RFP process to include the procurement, distribution, and ongoing management of classroom libraries for 279 classrooms across grades K to 6. These classroom libraries will serve a valuable resource to enhance the curriculum, promote independent reading, and support literacy development, with the goals to enhance literacy and the passion for reading by providing access to relevant, age-appropriate, high-interest books that supplement the current curriculum, reinforce key concepts, and provide a connection with the availability of home-to-school take-home books. We completed the RFP. We got 5 proposals. After a comprehensive evaluation of all the vendors' proposals, our recommendation to the Board of Education is we're asking to work for approval to work with Follett in the curation of a list of resources for our classroom libraries that will provide the list, and will provide the list at the March board meeting. I'd like to draw the board's attention to page 12 and 13 of the recommendation. And at the bottom of page 12, it outlines a timeline which is in alignment with CMAC, with the board policy in adopting new resources, especially supplemental resources. So we started this project in November. We opened the bid, closed the bid, bringing it to you for approval to work with a vendor. We're looking at curating the list of books throughout the month of February with the vendor, along with reviews for books, so we'll be able to supply what the book is by grade level, what's the review on the book, and all of those things. Making sure that we're meeting with teachers, CMAC, parent meetings, and getting staff feedback, and then providing that list for approval to the board in March, so we can order the books March 16th, and the delivery to classrooms will be between May and June of 2024. There'll be professional development that goes along with it, so teachers know how to use the libraries. There's storage solutions that go along with the libraries as well, in addition to Lightbox, which is something we already currently have for our libraries, but it'll be enhanced through the books that were provided. And then also professional development in August through October of 2024. I would like to draw everyone's attention to the fact that of the 5 vendors, Follett was the only vendor that actually could comply with the RFP requests, and was able to meet all the needs of what we were looking for in these libraries. Any questions? I also have Craig here if anyone has any questions. Craig's been an integral part on leading this as well with his expertise in the media area.
Is this out of ESSER funding?
Yes, sir.
After September, where will the funding come from?
They'll be done and paid for by then.
Okay. Got
The
it.
professional development is embedded into that, so everything will be done by May.
May, okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Once they're delivered, we can do all that. Yep.
Anybody else?
My only comment was that I like the idea that you are going to be putting these through the CMAC, and there's going to be several different filters looking at these books to ensure that age appropriateness and everything. So I am appreciative of that. And
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you did getting this together. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, does anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion then to approve the purchase using ESSER funds of the classroom library RFP proposal.
Mr. Smith has made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Springer has seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right,
you.
unanimous. Thank you. 9.2, network switch upgrade request. Mr. Taylor.
Staff is requesting network switch upgrade. Current switches are approaching 6 years of service, and this infrastructure is ideally replaced every 5 years to prevent age-based malfunctions. Additionally, this refresh cycle is utilized to gain access to emergent technologies and the latest security protocols. These devices are paid for using the FCC's E-rate program. Initial expenditure will be from Fund 8, fully reimbursable through NCDPI in the fiscal year 2025. I have Mr. Macon here available to answer specific questions regarding the switches themselves, if there are any.
Based on what I heard last time, I think it's something that's needed. And if we don't do it, it's going to cause issues. So I make a motion to approve the network switch upgrade request.
Second.
All right, Mr. Smith has made a motion. Do we have a second? Oh,
Springer.
sorry, didn't hear you. Mr. Springer has seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Thank you.
9.3.
Yes, sir. The second request for action from operations is the design build contract installment. This request for payment is $419,860, which will be paid from the Pender County General Fund. Obviously, as we stated before, the funds are provided by Pender County's General Fund, and because none of the bond funding can be utilized until bids are in hand. Therefore, if you'll go to the next page, the last page, sorry, it shows that the cash flow request for this is we are at 50% of schematic design. And I'm happy to share with you that at the next board meeting, we will have a presentation from the Bordeaux-Mosley Group. Very excited to have their work shared with you and see where we are and moving forward. But this request for payment would come from Pender County General Fund, not Pender County Schools funds. But we have to authorize the payment before the county commissioners will pay for it.
Make a motion to approve the fund.
Second.
Right. Mr. Springer has made a motion. Mr. Cordero has seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
One question, please. I'm sorry. How close are we to breaking ground?
Probably, I'd say 5 months or so. I mean, we're really under the gun right now for getting something done and some clearing done with the endangered species moratorium timing based on the long-eared bat, tricolored bat. Their nesting season is May 15. Actually, it's April 15th to September 30th, but with leniencies, we feel like we're going to be able to begin clearing in May, or before May 15th.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And then we'll do the ground, the ceremonial groundbreaking and things after we get the clearing done.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Good evening again, Board. We are asking approval for Star Math and Renaissance Learning. I'd like to just add the cost to the Star Math program before I actually talk about it. At the bottom, it's $41,816.34, added $20,000 saving for an 18-month contract. So we get the next 6 months for free for the rest of the year, and then we pick up a 12-month contract after that. Star Math is used as a risk screener and a progress monitoring for students in K-5. The tool will allow us to gauge where students are in overall effectiveness of our core math program. It also allows us to progress monitor students for growth, and it'll give us projected proficiencies for students towards North Carolina standards. Also, it gives us the ability to progress monitor EC students and actually have data that goes along with it for our math program, which is something that we are lacking in a consistent progress monitoring program for math. So again, it is a $20,000 savings. The last thing that I will add is the state of North Carolina is looking at a math progress monitoring screener, and they are looking at Star Math as that screener, similar to M-Class, which is what we use in K-5. So they're looking at Star Math for that. So by us bringing it in now, by the time they bring it in, we'll be able to tag on to their contract as well. So it actually gets us ahead of the ball game there. We do have a math enrichment grant that we'll be using. It'll be paid out of PRC 189.
And that's a one-time purchase.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion then to approve the Star Math Progress Mentoring Math K-5 program as presented.
I second.
Mr. Smith has made a motion. Ms. Burns has seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
All right, comments from board members. Mr. Smith.
I just want to say I have enjoyed this past month being able to visit a few of our schools. Always a warm welcome to see the children just engaging, and so we've got a lot to be proud about in Pender County Schools, and just thankful for that.
All right, thank you. Ms. Burns.
Thank you. So January is Board Member Appreciation Month, and I just wanted to say thank you for all of the lovely gifts that we were given tonight. But I also wanted to give thanks to the people who make us look good up here, and that's our central office staff. You hear about all these new innovative things that come that we're trying to utilize in Pender County Schools to push our academics forward and to give our students every possible edge. And a lot of times, you hear it up here first and from us and our questions, but really the root of all this is in central office. They do all of the legwork, they do all the heavy lifting, and by the time that it makes it up here to the board, there's been a lot of effort put in. And I just wanted to say to all of those people at central office, thank you so much. You make what we do, make what we do so much easier, and it shows. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Cordero.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to follow up on a quick comment from Mr. Temple, I think was his name, the gentleman that spoke during public comment. Mr. Lawson, he asked about a couple of books. I think that he was asking about the books during the October meeting. Those books are still in the schools, right?
So the specific book that he was speaking about that he went and asked at Topsail Middle was 13 Reasons Why, which was one of the books that the board asked for us to put behind the desk so that it's still part of the collections at the schools that chose to keep it. However, it does require parental consent before any students are able to check that out. So that was the last vote that you all had on those two particular books. And so that's the book that he was referring to at the middle school. There is one other book, but that's only at our high schools. But that book is also behind the shelf.
Right. I guess, I think, based on Mr. Temple's comments, I believe he received some inaccurate information. He was told the book wasn't in the school, and that's not a true statement, right? The book's still in the school.
The book is in the school, but it's behind the
Right.
desk. The meeting coordinator has.
The book's in the school. That's all I needed to know.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct. And we're working with that gentleman, and we'll be happy to make sure that he has the ability to access, as his right, again, with the Parent Bill of Rights, which already we were following that with our board policy. So we'll make sure that if he would like access to view those materials, that he can get that access.
Okay. Thank you. And Superintendent Breedlove, I just wanted to ask if you could, and you probably already have some comments on this, I assume, but I just wanted to ask if there might be the other public comment about the student from Topsail Elementary, if you could address that. I think that would be beneficial, just so parents can know the status of an investigation or any kind of remedial actions that we're taking to ensure the safety of our students.
Will do.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have, sir.
All right. The books reminded me, it's a question for you.
Yes, sir.
So the system of emailing parents what their child has checked out, that is operational, right?
That is operational, yes, sir.
'Cause I have never gotten one myself, but
Okay.
it could just be an oversight on my part personally.
Well, let's definitely take a look at it. We did run into some earlier glitches where the program, when it was trying to run the report, it was hanging up. So I'd
Okay.
have to go in and try to do some manual.
Okay. I'll get with you on that with
Yeah,
mine, but
certainly. And I would encourage any parent, if they have a child in their system and they believe the child has checked out a book and they are not getting an email of that report, please reach out to your media coordinator and they can work on that. And,
Okay.
and they can direct them to me if there's a problem. We'll make sure we get that resolved.
I've not heard, I've just heard a few, what I think are just isolated instances of it. And it could be someone gave, an inactive email or something that.
That can happen sometimes too, sir, but like I said, we want to make sure we get that right. We want to make sure that parents have access to that, so if there's any problems with that system, we'll
Okay.
be happy.
I was gonna- I haven't seen a big problem with it, but other than with myself, and I've heard from one or two other people, but nothing. I told them to, check and make sure that you did in fact give the right email. And I heard no more, so that seems to have solved it, but, okay, thanks.
Mr. Hall, if you don't mind, can I go back, since I was basically addressed in Mr. Cadero's comments, and I'd like to engage with that if possible?
I was trying to address Mr. Temple's comment.
Well,
so you're aware, sir.
because you're saying that I gave him
I didn't say
wrong
that you did
information.
anything.
Well, you did, but that's fine. I'm sure you're using your creative argument skills. But I have spoken to that gentleman, I did, just like you spoke to him before the meeting, but I did speak to him on the phone. I told him what the vote was. The book was pulled. And I said, if you find any different, let me know. I'm not trying to give out misinformation. Am I in these libraries every day? Absolutely not. Neither are you. I told him to let us know. And so I'm not trying to mislead. I mean, if you're talking about misleading, it would almost be like the $750,000 that you personally are taking credit for of cutting when Mr. Hall and other previous board members, we had already agreed to end that contract with Synergistic. So if we want to talk about misleading the public, be very careful, because that thin glass or ice is not true. I told him to let me know, is what I told him. Because, I don't know. I know what we voted on, is what I told him. So if you want to respond to that, you can, but if the statement is read out, I'm just letting you know, I'm not trying to give out wrong information. Now, can I be wrong? Absolutely, just like anyone else.
My only response would be, all I did was go to the Follett, link that we all have. You can see what's in the library online, and I just looked it up and I found that it was in the library, and you can see that it's in the library. So
Did we not?
You didn't bother to do that, so that's your choice.
You don't know what I've done. What I told him to do is let me know, okay? So obviously you've already discussed this with him as
Well, he
a
reached out to me because
constituent.
he was concerned that you were giving him inaccurate information.
Okay, well, that's fine. I can't, respond to a personal conversation that I was not part of with you and him, but what I can say.
I would encourage you to speak with Mr. Temple, because he's the one that seems to
But
be
I'm
concerned
encouraging,
about this.
when you're using this to come at me saying that someone gave him wrong
I'm
information.
doing no
when
such thing. I was
you
just
did
trying to
say
ask
that.
Mr. Lawson if
You
the
did
book was
say
still in the
that.
school.
I'm not going, and I'm saying to you, we voted. You were part of that vote. Was it pulled off the shelf, yes or no?
It was pulled off the shelf.
So,
It was pulled off the shelf after I read from the book and exposed what was in the book to all of us.
yeah, and like I said, was it pulled off the shelf, yes or no?
It's still in the library.
But is it off the shelf?
No, it's still on a shelf. I mean, what shelf are you talking about? I mean, I don't understand why we're having this conversation right now.
Because you brought it up to make sure it's almost like a gotcha.
Brought it up because
moment.
Mr. Temple felt that he was misled. That's why he showed up. I didn't make him show up.
I know you didn't make him show up.
Okay. He's, I mean.
But I'm stating if we're going to have a conversation like this, just like I told him on the phone, I didn't know for a fact, but I assumed that we did vote to take it off the shelf. So the vote's public, what we did.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not trying to mislead anyone, Mr. Cordero. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Need more?
No, I don't have anything else.
Mr. Springer? None. Okay. Mr. McPherson?
All right, Board, I'm going to talk about three things very quickly. The first is a Supreme Court case that was heard this past week called, it is a herring fisherman case that has implications to education. The name of the case is Loper Industries versus Raimondo. He is the Commerce Secretary, and what it has to do with is agency deference. I would recommend that the board look for this case when it comes out. It is going to be the blockbuster of this Supreme Court session, and what it does is, what is anticipated to do is to fully eliminate what is known as the Chevron doctrine, which is basically the concept of giving federal agencies deference when there's confusion about what a federal law says. Specifically, one of the things that local school districts run into is whenever we're in an argument with the Federal Department of Education about what a statute or a regulation that was created based off a statute says, the agency has this deference that whatever interpretation they have is correct. And there's been chips at that doctrine over the years. It is expected to fall fully, and it's going to be left in the hands of federal judges to interpret what federal laws mean. And so I think that is an important case for all of us to pay attention to. So that is the first thing. The second two things are actions by the State Board of Education here in North Carolina. It is the with the Parents' Bill of Rights, there is the ability for parents to get before the State Board of Education. The rules regarding those hearings was approved and published recently. There's a temporary rule that's a part of the administrative code. So that is out for public comment. I would encourage you to go read that. I can give you the citation if you would like, but it's more about how the State Board of Education is going to hear concerns from parents if they are not addressed at the local level. We hope that that is not the case, but there is this ability under the Parents' Bill of Rights. The last thing I want to mention is there is a temporary rules regarding interscholastic athletics. Anyone who's been paying attention is that the General Assembly has had a lot of interest in interscholastic athletics and how those are being regulated by DPI and how the private agency that runs high school athletics, North Carolina High School Athletic Association, is managed. And so I would encourage you to pay attention to those. The temporary rules have a summary of proposed changes. These temporary rules are slated to take effect in July. I'll email those out to you. That way you can don't have to go looking for those, but I would encourage those temporary rules for you to take a peek at. And if you have comments, to please share those with our friends at the State Board of Education. So, Mr. Chair, those are all my comments for this evening.
All right, thank you. Dr. Breedlove?
Yes, sir. As alluded to by Ms. Burns, yes, it is January is School Board Appreciation Month in North Carolina. And on behalf of our entire school system, I want to thank our Board of Education for all that you do, the numerous hours of service that you provide to our school system and our community. Your work as leaders in our community is greatly appreciated and is greatly honored. You constantly answer the call when we are in need and you put yourselves out front, not just on the easy decisions, but on the difficult decisions mostly. You continually help to provide our school system with guidance and support for the betterment of our students and staff as we strive to be the best school system that we can be. On behalf of Pender County Schools, I thank you, each of you, for all that you do for all of us. Thank you very much. On January the 18th, I had the luxury and to sit and watch the Pender County Schools county band concert performance, which encompasses students from several middle schools and high schools around the district. That captivating and free concert, I will say, highlighted by the musical talent of all 9 middle and high schools that we have. I want to thank Topsail High School for hosting the event and allowing our students from all over the county to spend a day and a half on their campus practicing together for their performance. What an amazing atmosphere it was, and I want to thank all of our students and staff for making that happen. I'd also like to celebrate our Pender County students who participated in the 2024 District Science Fair. I'm proud to announce that 6 of the projects are advancing to the Southeast Regional Science Fair at UNCW on February 10th. We have 2 teams from 3 schools, Surf City Elementary, Topsail Annandale Elementary, and Topsail Middle School, who will be participating in that. So I want to congratulate each of these teams and wish them luck in the next round. Yesterday, I traveled to the state superintendent's quarterly meeting. I met with leaders from around the state, the Department of Public Instruction, and the state superintendent, Catherine Truitt. One of the topics, I bring that up, is one of the topics that was covered was a new accountability model that will be rolling out, expected in the 25-26 school year. But that will change how we operate on accountability. There will be many more factors that go into our accountability scoring for our schools. And right now, they're still in draft form. There's a lot of discussion. But before anything takes hold, obviously, that's got to go through the General Assembly for approval. But I just wanted to bring our board that to you and make you aware of that. Also, January 30th, 9:30 a.m., there will be a committee of the whole as a next meeting for board members and district leaders. And also, the next board meeting will be on February 13th at 6 o'clock. The last message that I would like to share concerns the safety and security of our schools. We had a parent call in and talk specifically about this issue. Specifically, I would briefly like to address the recent incident that occurred at one of our elementary schools in which a student was able to exit the playground unnoticed and leave the school property. First of all, I want to say that we own the mistake. It was our mistake. We know it. It's unacceptable on our part as a school system. As such, we looked at the situation and we have been addressing it from that moment on. We've been looking at not only at the school level, but also at the systems level. This means addressing the situation with our teachers, our school staff, our administration, and our district staff as well. Reviewing guidelines, protocols, procedures surrounding the playground and school safety. Reviewing where teachers and playground monitors are standing. We have looked at our fences. We have looked at our gates that are a part of those fences. Are they secured appropriately? Are there any damage to any of them? Do they not lock, or are they easily used by students who are our most vulnerable, which are our youngest, to walk out? All of these things that we've now addressed and we will continue to address. School principals and district staff have physically walked and laid eyes and hands on the playground fencing, other security fencing, noting any issues of concerns by our maintenance team so that they can address. Board members, as superintendent, I understand how fortunate this student, the family, and our school system was that everything turned out okay in this situation. But it does not mean that we can just move on without a process to rededicate ourselves to corrective action, to the antecedents that led up to the student having not only the ability to leave the school, but to do so without being noticed. As a parent myself, the thought of what could have happened drives me and our staff with a sense of urgency to ensure that we have a better supervision of our students. We have better processes, procedures, and equipment in place moving forward to prevent this from happening again. On that note, I want to thank our teachers and administrators and district staff who, without hesitation after that situation and across the entire system, not just at Topsail Annandale, but across our school system, jumped in, helping us with the safety issues, anything that we can address, and that this issue brought to light. Because of this situation, our school system is in a better position than it was a week ago, and we will continue our work to improve. To our parents and community, we want you to know that your children are our most precious item that we have in our school system, and we know that you turn your children over to us. It is important for us to take care of them, to nurture them, and to help them grow in a safe and well-run school system. And so we do take that position. It is an honor that we have our students, and we will continue to work for the betterment of our students and our community as we look to improve and constantly improve as a school system. I just wanted to have an opportunity to address this with our board, address it to our community, own it, and we will continue to get better. So at this point, I want to say to our board members, once again, thank you for all that you do. I know there are times when the community sees this democracy in action as a part of what we do, but it is an honor to be here in the school system and work with you all, and as part of the Board Appreciation Month. Congratulations as being board members, and thank you all very much for all that you do. That concludes my board update, so thank you all very much.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion for closed session.
I move that the board enter into closed session, subject to advice from the attorney pursuant to NC General Statute 143-318.11A1 and A6, to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel information under GS 115C-319, and to consider matters relating to personnel matters. The board will also enter into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3 to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege, to consider confidential student matters as provided in NC General Statute 143-318.11A1 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20 U.S.C. 1232G and NC General Statute 115C-402.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. All right, we're back in open session. We need a motion to approve the human resource report.
Motion.
Mr. Cordero's motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Burns is seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Why is this on here twice?
I don't know.
13.1 and 14.1. Is there a difference?
I don't think so.
The computer's closed. It's printed on here twice, so.
One's for the conversation in closed session, and one's for approving in open session.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in